So the JBL Flip 6 is probably one of the most popular portable Bluetooth speakers that you can buy. But here we have the Tribit Stormbox 2. It looks very similar to the Flip 6 and it's half the price. So should you flip out over the Flip 6 or storm the shops to get the Stormbox 2? Let's find out. So design wise, both of these speakers are very similar, and bar a fraction of an inch, they're pretty much the same size too, both being around 7 inches long and 2.5 inches wide. There is a difference in the weight though, so the Flip 6 is 550 grams and the Stormbox 2 is 699. Now there is a reason for that extra weight, which we'll get to later. Otherwise, design wise, they're both surrounded in this fabric grille, which goes all the way around to keep it nice and protected. You've got the huge massive JBL logo on the front, same as all their other current design speakers, and Tribit has their own little logo on the bottom and a very Ultimate Ears-esque design with the plus and the minus on the front. They both have a lanyard, which makes it nice and easy to attach to something. The one on the Flip 6 is definitely bigger than the one on the Stormbox 2. Slap a carabiner on it though, and both of them are easy to use. They're not the kind of weight that I'd really have it hanging off a bag if I'm going backpacking though, but it's useful for hanging up on a tree or something like that. Most of the time these speakers are going to be spending their time on a table, on the ground, on their side or up on their edge. There are a few differences in the controls on these, so they've both got the volume up and down and a main button that does play, pause and skip forwards. However, the Stormbox 2 also does a triple tap which goes back a track. The Flip 6 doesn't do that. And then on the back they've both got their power on and off switch and their Bluetooth pairing button. The Stormbox 2 also has an X bass button to give you an extra bass boost, which you'll hear what that sounds like in the sound test later, and it has a pairing button which is the same as what the JBL Flip 6 has on the front. However, how they pair with other speakers is a little different. We'll get to that later too. So to help protect both of these speakers against the elements, they are both rated to the same waterproof rating. So these are waterproof such that you can put them in a meter of water for up to 30 minutes and they'll both be fine. However, it is the Flip 6 that is dustproof, whereas the Stormbox 2 isn't. So it's an IP67 rating for the Flip 6 and an IPX7 rating for the Stormbox 2, which is a shame because for an outdoor speaker you pretty much want it to be dustproof, otherwise I'd just worry a bit about it going down the beach and places where there's a lot of, well, sand. So whilst both are waterproof, there's one thing that the Stormbox 2 can do that the Flip 6 can't. The Stormbox 2 can float. And I'm not going to chuck the Flip 6 because it floats not. It sinks straight to the bottom. So if you're going to be taking this out on a boat, unless you want to be swimming to the bottom of the ocean to pick this up, the Stormbox 2 is a better option. Moving on to connectivity, and Bluetooth wise, the Flip 6 has Bluetooth 5.1 and the Stormbox 2 has Bluetooth 5.3. In reality, that doesn't make too much of a difference. Both of these speakers support multi-point, so they can be connected up to 2 different devices at the same time. However, neither of these have a mic, so I'm not too sure how useful that is unless you've got 2 people wanting to fight over which playlist they want to be playing on your speaker. They do also support pairing, which is the pairing button that I was talking about on the top and the back here. However, how they pair is slightly different. The Stormbox 2 allows pairing with another Stormbox 2 and the Flip 6 allows that too. But that button on the top, well, that's a party boost button, and that allows the Flip 6 to connect up to 100 other JBL party boost speakers, so you can play music from all those speakers at the same time. And that's something that the Stormbox 2 can't do. That feature kind of makes sense on their bigger speakers, but on something that's more likely to be used as a portable speaker, personally I don't know how useful it is, but it's there if you want it. One thing that the Stormbox 2 does have that the Flip 6 doesn't, and to be honest, this is one feature it's got that lots of speakers don't have anymore, and that's an aux in port at the back. So underneath this flap, next to the USB-C charging port, is a 3.5mm audio jack, so you can hook this up to a wired audio source. Again, something that the Flip 6 doesn't have. So moving on to battery life, and the Flip 6 has a battery life of 12 hours, which when it was released was pretty good for a speaker of its size. However, the Stormbox 2 has a battery life of 24 hours. So that extra weight that I was talking about right at the start, well, it's going into the battery. 24 hours of battery life in a speaker this size is insane. The downside of that is that it does take 4 hours for this speaker to charge up to full from 0, whereas the Flip 6 will charge in 2.5 hours. Still, with 24 hours of battery life, you're not going to need to charge it that often. So moving on to the sound, both of these have 2 drivers in them, have similar volumes as well, but the configuration, design and how they sound couldn't be more different. So inside the JBL Flip 6, there are 2 drivers. There is a dedicated 80mm woofer, so that's dedicated to the lower frequencies, and a 60mm tweeter dedicated to the higher frequencies. You've also got 2 passive radiators on either side. And with a maximum volume of 30 watts, this can go pretty loud. Now, having a dedicated woofer and a tweeter should give you better clarity in the sound because you've got different drivers dedicated to different frequencies. The downside of that is you get mono sound out of this. Whereas with the Stormbox 2, you are getting 2 48mm full range drivers and you've got 2 passive radiators on either side. The maximum volume of this speaker is 34 watts, so it is a little bit louder than the Flip 6, at least on paper. In reality though, you're never going to push either of these speakers to maximum volume because the sound starts to get really compressed, starts to really thin out, and the sound just doesn't sound good at max volume. And that's the same for pretty much any speaker that you're going to look at. All speakers pretty much have a sweet spot of low to medium volume is where they perform best. And these 2 are no exception. Frequency response range, the dedicated woofer inside the Flip 6 is definitely helping. So the frequency range of this is 63 Hz to 20 kHz, and it's 80 Hz to 20 kHz on the Stormbox 2. So you should get better bass response with the Flip 6. So let's go do a sound test so you can hear how they both sound. Now obviously bear in mind that you're listening to a YouTube video of a mic that's recording these speakers, so it's not as good as being in the same room, but hopefully it gives you an indication of how these sound.
Something real, something raw, not accidental, no I'm sure. You're not needed, show you the door, but what's that, yeah, are you sure? Yeah, that's a rental, yeah, what a bore. Lying, nothing in your core. Buying, yeah, what for, but do what I need to, always sure. Something real, something raw, not accidental, no I'm sure. You're not needed, show you the door. What's that, yeah, are you sure? Yeah, that's a rental, yeah, what a bore. Lying, nothing in your core. Buying, yeah, what for, but do what I need to, always sure.
Dig around, let me hold it down, look at what we found. It's a marathon, not a sprint, let's go 100 miles. From the ground, only to the clouds, never coming down. That's the crown on me, wear it proud, show them what we found. Stick around, let me hold it down, look at what we found. This a marathon, not a sprint, let's go 100 miles. From the ground, only to the clouds, never coming down. That's the crown on me, wear it proud, look what they was talking about.
Ain't taking me high, ain't nobody like you, I'm not coming down. Ain't nobody like you, I could go 1,000 miles as long as I'm with you. Yeah, you're taking me high, ain't nobody like.
So which of these sounded the best to you? Let me know in the comments down below. I mean, personally, I thought the Flip 6 definitely sounded the bassier out of the 2. However, it is very directional sound, and so it only really sounds the best if you're sitting right in front of it. On the other hand, I did think the Stormbox 2 had slightly less bass, but it had room-filling sound thanks to that 360-degree sound, and it really didn't matter where you're sitting as to how good this sounded. Now, both of these speakers from a volume perspective are easily going to fill a room. It's just that you don't have to worry about where you put the Stormbox 2 because of that 360-degree sound, whereas the Flip 6, you really have to put it in an optimal position to get the best sound out of this. So from a just plop it down and play perspective, the Stormbox 2 is definitely better. But again, better bass, more clarity I think in the Flip 6. Now both of these have mobile app support, which allows them to both get firmware updates, and you can change the EQ to change how they sound. Now the JBL Flip 6, there's only a 3-band graphic EQ in the mobile apps. You don't have too much control over how it sounds. However, with the Stormbox 2, you've got 6 different EQ presets, or you can jump in to the 9-band custom EQ. So you have way more customization over how the Stormbox 2 sounds. So if you're the kind of person that likes to tweak with EQs, the Stormbox 2 is definitely the better option. So which of these should you get? So should you get the Flip 6 or the Stormbox 2? Well, I think the $130 JBL Flip 6, which is available in a variety of colors, well, it does sound bassier, and you definitely get more detail in the sound thanks to that separate woofer and tweeter. It does, however, sound quite narrow, and it doesn't sound as room-filling as the Stormbox 2, neither does it have as good a battery life. So at $60 and almost half the price of the Flip 6, I think it's an easy win for for the Stormbox 2. I will put purchase links to both of these in the description down below so that you can go check both of these out for yourself. If you do want to check out some more speaker alternatives, then be sure to check out the link up here. If you have enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and share it. Consider subscribing if you're not. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.